Now, welcome back to Wellbeing Wednesdays. We are just about to go into chatting about transforming your walks into workouts. And walking is often overlooked as a viable exercise option, but it can be a great form of exercise and a really great way to stay active. By just taking a few simple steps, though, we can turn that average walk into quite an effective workout. And that's what we're talking about today. Because if we are wanting to improve and get more out of our walks, we are taking the time out of our day. If we're wanting to maximize that, and depending what your goals are, but there are definite ways that you can increase the intensity of that walk, add more muscle groups into that walk, and make that walk that little bit more intense and more physically beneficial from a fitness perspective. So, definitely, if you're wanting to burn more calories, these next steps are going to help you to achieve that. If you're wanting to develop more fitness, definitely going to achieve that with these tips. Or if you are wanting to burn some body fat, then this is definitely going to help you as well. So last week I spoke a little bit about the what we call the EPOC effect, the exercise post oxygen consumption and recovery. And basically what that means is how quickly does our body return back to normal after it has done some exercise. So normally what happens is when you go for a walk, within 2 to 4 hours, your metabolism, your breath rate, your heart rate, your blood pressure, everything returns back to pre-exercise levels. However, when we are adding some more intense exercise, then the amount of time that it takes to return back to those baseline levels is extended. And so, what that means for us is that it means that you're burning more calories for a longer period of time, and we're in what we call a higher fat burning range for longer periods of time. So, with the tips today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to take those walks and amp it up a little bit, add a little bit more intensity and energy into it. And we're going to do that in three simple ways. So the first one is to change up where you're going. So if you've got the same sort of track that you go on a daily basis, then maybe looking at adding some hills into the walk or something a little bit going downhill, or might be maybe a walk through a little bit of bushland where you're going to physically have to work harder in terms of your balance and your strength, keeping yourself going through that walk. If you've got the option and you're living by the beach, then definitely adding some sand walking in through that walk as well. So varying up your walk to start with to make sure that it's rather than just a nice flat path, then trying to find something that's going to challenge us and that's going to take us from a stable walk to variation. Within 8 to 10 minutes, our body works out what we're doing and it reaches what we call a steady state. If we are going at a continuous leisurely rate. So what we want to do instead is vary that intensity, and sometimes we're huffing and puffing, going up the hill, and then we've got some flat, and then we might go through another hill, maybe a decline, maybe an incline. So some variation where there are different demands on the body, and the body is going to have to respond by using up a lot more energy to be able to fuel this variation in which muscles are being worked, how hard our heart has to work, how much oxygen your muscles need. So all of these ways is really great to add in to your walk. The second thing that you can do, the second tip, is to increase your speed. So if you are walking at a moderate pace for an extended period of time, you can burn calories. But as I said, once we reach that steady state, the body goes into a mode where it's going to burn the minimum amount of calories for the activity that you're doing. So if we're going to vary the speed, then you're also going to have an even greater effect on your body. So the way that we can vary the speed is very obvious. So going into a little jog, if you can, for a short interval. And that doesn't mean opening up the door and transforming your 30-minute walk into a 30-minute run. Like that's not going to happen very easily anyway. So what you can do though is you can add short bursts of increased speed. So you may go for a warm up of 3 minutes to start with, and then you might do a short jog for 30 seconds, or you may pick 2 or 3 houses that you're going to run past, and then you walk again until you feel like you've recovered. And then you can add in maybe 3 minutes later, whenever you feel like your heart rate's ready to go again. So increasing that speed, and it doesn't always necessarily need to be with a jog or a run. It could be as simple as just walking at a higher pace and just doing some speed walking and using your arms as well. So allowing your arms, I'm sitting here swinging my arms. Uh, so you can swing your arms as a way to help to propel you forward. So the last way is to add some strengthening exercises. Now, this particular step does come with the word of caution, and I do not recommend that you use ankle weights or hand weights. And that's purely because if we're, say, for example, using ankle weights, it does affect your gait and the muscles that you're using to propel that forward motion of walking. So you can get tightness in muscles that are unnatural to your normal walking gait, and it can create a muscle imbalance. So that's something that I would definitely steer clear of. And also, even with with hand weights, similar sort of thing. It can cause a postural imbalance, and it can put added stress on your shoulders and on your neck. So that's something that I would definitely avoid. However, I did say to add strengthening exercises into your walk. So how do we do that? So the way that we can do that is instead doing actual strengthening movements interspersed throughout your walk. So things such as if you happen to stop at a pedestrian crossing and you need to stand there for might be 30 seconds or a minute, then you can add some calf raises in. Or you might have sections mapped out on your track that when you get to a certain park, you might do 10 squats 3 times. Give yourself a 20-second break in between each one, and you're adding your squats in. Then at another section of your walk, you might remember that there's quite a sturdy gate on some fencing or something like that, and you may want to do 15 push-ups, and you might do 2 or 3 lots of those. So I'm talking about interspersing actual strengthening movements within the session so that you're combining strengthening and resistance training with the cardio aspect of the walk. So you may even stop at a park that's halfway and actually do a range of strengthening movements. So, or, if you're lucky enough, you'll come across one of those parks that have got those outdoor gyms set up already that you can do some lat pull down or some bench press on, and you just follow the diagrams and include them in. But doing 10 repetitions 3 times through of even 3 or 4 movements. So by adding those 3 elements into it, all of a sudden we're going from quite a stable level of heart rate and a degree of improved fitness and a degree of calorie burn within, say, a 20 or a 30-minute walk. And then we can really maximize that and increase the amount of muscles that we get working. We're going to disturb that metabolism a little bit more because there's different energy demands. And all of a sudden, we're going to go from what is quite a simple walk into something that you can come away with feeling like you've done quite a good workout with. But there you go. I'm going to leave you with that. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Give me a shout out. You can send me a message on Wellbeing Wednesdays with Snez. I would love to hear you implementing some of these things. And that's what I'm telling you every week is it's great to listen in, and I love having your company. And I can see there's quite a few of you listening in today, which is great. But it brings me a lot of joy when I know that you have actually implemented and made some of these changes. So your next walk, you know what you need to do, make that a little bit more intense and reap a lot more benefits out of it. We're going